Hey guys, it's me, Darth Something, back at you again with another cringy video. So now, Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith are both really good movies, but which one is better? That's what I'm gonna decide today. Basically, I'm gonna have 7 categories, and the movie that wins the most categories is the winner. The categories are story or plot, the characters, the acting, music, action, special effects, and planets. Now, let's start with the first category, which is, of course, the plot. So, Return of the Jedi is, of course, basically about the rebels destroying the second Death Star. First, they have to save Han, and then when they're on Endor, they meet the Ewoks. And, well, you know what that movie's about. I don't need to explain it. Now, one of my problems with the Return of the Jedi is the whole thing with the second Death Star. It's just very similar to A New Hope. And now, while I do think that Return of the Jedi has a good story, I think Revenge of the Sith's story is a bit better. I mean, it's basically about Anakin turning to the dark side, Palpatine taking over, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith wins this category. I know that I didn't talk too much about the story, but I'm sorry about that. But now, let's move on to the second category, which is characters. First of all, I just want to say that I'm not very experienced when it comes to character development, so I'll just try to keep this round kinda short. But now, when it comes to characters, Revenge of the Sith is alright. Anakin's definitely better in Revenge of the Sith than he was in Episode 2, but I still don't like him that much in it. I mean, he's just alright. Yoda is pretty good, like he always is. Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith is great, and Palpatine is amazing. I mean, he's manipulative, powerful, all that kind of stuff. And now, Palpatine is of course in Return of the Jedi as well. But while I do really like him in Return of the Jedi, I think he's a bit better in Revenge of the Sith. But Return of the Jedi also has a lot of other great characters. I mean, we have Vader, who's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Then we have Leia and Han, Han doesn't really do much in this movie, which kind of sucks. And then we, of course, have Lando. And then we have my favorite character in all of Star Wars, Luke Skywalker. I think Luke Skywalker is just such a great character. I'm just gonna tell you who wins this round. Return of the Jedi wins the second category. Alright, next round. So, the third category is acting. This one is pretty easy for me to decide. So both of these movies have some problems when it comes to the acting. I mean, Harrison Ford is way worse in Return of the Jedi than in the previous movies, and he looks pretty bored throughout basically the whole thing. And some of the Carrie Fisher's acting is pretty bad. Like, just look at the scene where Luke tells her that she's his sister. Her acting in that scene is not very good. But Mark Hamill is still pretty good in the movie, and Ian McDiarmid does a really great job in both movies. Hayden Christensen in Revenge of the Sith is definitely better than he was in Attack of the Clones, but I still don't think he's that good. I mean, he's not bad, but he's also not great. Ewan McGregor does a great job despite some of the bad writing. Samuel L. Jackson is actually pretty bad in Revenge of the Sith and all the prequels. I mean, some of his line delivery just sounds, I don't know. He's just not very good in this, which is weird considering Samuel L. Jackson is usually really good. It's probably due to the dialogue. But now, I think Return of the Jedi wins this category, because while some of the acting is kind of meh, a lot of it's also pretty good. Now, category number 4 is music. I'm probably not going to talk about the music for too long, but both of these movies have some really amazing music, but I definitely think one is slightly better. In Return of the Jedi, we have some really great music like the Emperor's theme, and there's this one part from Luke and Vader's duel that I think is just so amazing. So yeah, Return of the Jedi has some really amazing music, but so does Revenge of the Sith. I mean, Jedi Temple March, Battle of the Heroes, they're just so good. Now, I'm just gonna tell you who wins this round right now, because I don't have that much more to say about the music, to be honest. Revenge of the Sith wins this round. Yeah, let's just move on now. The next category is action. This is gonna be pretty hard to choose because both of these movies have some really good action. The Battle of Coruscant is pretty good, the space battle there was really cool, I think, but I still think Return of the Jedi has a way better space battle. The space battle in Return of the Jedi is probably one of my favorite space battles in Star Wars. And the ground battle on Endor was really great. I kinda like the Ewoks, even though I still prefer the Porgs. But still, the Battle of Endor is just so amazing. When it comes to both space battles and big ground battles, I think Return of the Jedi is better. But what about lightsaber duels? Well, Revenge of the Sith has a lot of them. When I was younger, I used to love the fact that it had so many lightsaber duels, but nowadays, I don't really care that much. I almost feel like the less lightsaber duels we see, the more special they feel, but like half of the ones in Revenge of the Sith are just kinda meh, in my opinion. But while I think it does maybe have a bit too many of them, it's still not so many that it becomes annoying or anything, if that makes sense. And while I may think that most of them are just kind of meh, Anakin versus Obi-Wan, it is my favorite lightsaber duel in Star Wars. It's just so amazing. It's just emotional, and the choreography is really great. But what about the lightsaber duel in Return of the Jedi? Well, I actually think it's almost as good as the one in Revenge of the Sith between Anakin and Obi-Wan. It may not be as flashy as the ones in Revenge of the Sith, but it's still really emotional, and I actually really like the fact that the choreography is a bit more realistic. Now, well, Revenge of the Sith may have my favorite lightsaber duel of all time. Return of the Jedi space and ground battles just gives it a slight edge. That and the fact that Return of the Jedi's lightsaber duel is almost as good as Anakin vs. Obi-Wan. Return of the Jedi wins this round. Now, moving on to category number 6, we have special effects. This is probably the hardest category for me, because both of these movies have some effects that are really great and some that are pretty bad. Let's start by talking about the bad ones. So, at the battle over the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi, it's just really obvious that it's a blue screen behind the actors. It just looks so bad. Sometimes it's really obvious when some things are paintings, and the speeder chase hasn't aged that well. Now, for Revenge of the Sith, Mustafar looks pretty bad sometimes during Anakin and Obi-Wan's duel. The lava just looks so fake. Some things during the Battle of Coruscant looks pretty fake, but most of the time it doesn't look that bad. Some of the flips and stuff in Revenge of the Sith look pretty bad. And now let's talk about some good effects. Well, some of the paintings in Return of the Jedi look pretty meh. Some of them are also really good. The space battle in Return of the Jedi looks great most of the time. Most of the practical effects look really great in Return of the Jedi. I mean, Jabba basically shows you just how good practical effects can be. Now, for Revenge of the Sith, Grievous actually looks alright in Revenge of the Sith, if you ask me, which is weird considering most of the CG characters in the prequels look like garbage these days. Yoda looks alright, I guess. He looks way better than he did in Attack of the Clones, but I still think the puppet is way better. But now, deciding which movie is gonna win this round is actually way harder than it should be, considering Revenge of the Sith came out 22 years later. That just shows that CG isn't always a good thing if you overuse it. But then, as I've said, some of the effects in Return of the Jedi are also kind of meh. But now, this was just really hard to decide, but in the end, I think I gotta say that Revenge of the Sith wins this round, even though it was really close and hard to decide. But now, it's time for the final category. Both movies have won 3 categories so far, so the one that wins this round will be the winner of the video. Now, the final category is planets. Now, in Return of the Jedi, the only planets we see are Tatooine, Endor, and the second Death Star, which isn't a planet, but I just don't give a crap. Oh, and I know that Endor is just a moon which orbits a planet that's also named Endor. It's kind of strange. Why would you give a moon the same name as the planet it orbits? Well, whatever. But now, Endor is a pretty cool planet. That's all I've really got to say about the planets in Return of the Jedi. So, well, I think the planets in Return of the Jedi are great and all. Revenge of the Sith definitely has better planets, if you ask me. I mean, we have Coruscant, Kashyyyk, and Mustafar, and Utapau is alright, I guess, but I mean, Mustafar is just cool, and Kashyyyk is great since it's the home world of the Wookiees. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this. Revenge of the Sith has the better planets, in my opinion, which means that the Revenge of the Sith wins the final round. And that means that we have a winner. Revenge of the Sith wins with a score of 4-3. So, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like. And you can of course subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.